You know, in 2 years of asking that question, no one has ever written to me. Why do you think that is? Because the gurus online can't help you. Paul, Brooke Borup, Dr. Phil, Steve Sapato. We're the ones who can help you, okay? Take that to heart. All right, we have someone coming up. I think she's kind of good. Here's what I'll tell you. When I first met Patty, I was impressed as heck because she actually had a ton to say that could change your life. So here's what I want you to know. We have the ESOP evangelist, Patty Plew, as a gifted entrepreneur here on our stage. She's established several successful businesses throughout her successful career. She has extensive experience buying, selling, and running businesses. Now, adding to that experience is selling through an ESOP, which has provided her with the insight to help other business owners protect their legacy and sell with integrity. What kind of legacy will you leave? Please welcome Patty Plew.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I have a question for you. Who's a business owner in this room? So what would happen tomorrow if all your employees quit and walked out? You'd be in trouble, wouldn't you, as a business? You wouldn't know. Some businesses would have to shut down, and we've heard about those lately with employees not coming back. It's been a nightmare, okay? Do you know what your employees' greatest fear is? Their greatest fear is you're going to sell your company to someone else, and they're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their livelihood. That's their greatest fear. It happens every day. You've heard about companies that all of a sudden they were sold to a third party, moved out of town, and every employee lost their job. So what are you doing right now about that worry of your employees? Have you ever thought about when you're going to transition your business, your exit strategy, and does it include your employees? Does that include the people, your greatest asset that helped you build your company? Have you ever thought of that? Well, what I'm going to talk about today, I personally experienced because my employees came this close. I had 200 employees, and the owners and shareholders of Helix were offered 30% over fair market value for our company. And there were 6 of us. And we all looked at each other and said, how could you refuse that? And so we were moving forward with that when my husband and I met with a financial advisor that when he listened to us for 2 hours, he said, I may be leaving money on the table here. I'm certainly able to help you and would be happy to, but I would be amiss if I didn't tell you about ESOPs. Do you know what an ESOP is? Because I think you're so concerned what's going to happen to your employees that you literally, that's all you've talked about since I've been here for 2 hours. And we said, well, it's an employee-owned company, right? And he said, yes, but do you know what the benefits are? And so what I'm going to do now is I am going to share with you the tremendous benefits of ESOPs, because what I did, one of the benefits is that first of all, you're guaranteed fair market value for your company. They cannot pay you less. You don't have to look for a buyer. Your employees are already the buyer, okay? So you're guaranteed fair market value. In addition to that, you can stay on and stay in control of your company and make that income with forever, if that's what you wanted to do, okay? So I wanted to stay on in my current role as president and CEO of operations, but what I found out is that people didn't know. Business owners didn't know about these tremendous benefits. Everyone I talked to knew it was an employee-owned situation. They didn't know about the benefits I'm about ready to share with you. So, for your staff alone, it's a retirement benefit windfall. So literally, it's like a 401k on steroids. It's a retirement plan. And it's like a 401k on steroids. You need 15 full-time employees or more in order to create an ESOP. That is the only thing that you need. You don't have to be a certain dollar amount. You just need 15 full-time employees to sell your company to your employees. And guess what? It's free to them. There's no matching or contributions and then a match. And I'll just give you a little, oops, I went too far. First of all, I have heard from people, you're familiar with Publix down here, that baggers at Publix have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in their retirement fund. You literally can make millionaires out of your employees. And wait a minute, you've already sold the company, remember? You've already gotten your money. So it's not you paying your employees $1 million, it's your company. So it's not coming out of your pocket anymore. Next, when you become an ESOP, you become a tax-free entity and you're starting to function like a 501c3. So today, you're a for-profit company, and you are paying taxes, 33 to 40%, right? Tomorrow, you're an ESOP, you're automatically 33 to 40% larger than you were yesterday because you're not paying that anymore. If you didn't do anything else, you're automatically larger. That goes to the bottom of your balance sheet. And success stories with that, I know a company that had sold their company for $25 million, and with the additional resources, in addition to their employees being blessed with the retirement fund, they bought other companies, and they're now a $100 million company. They're right in the Milwaukee area where I'm from. That brings me to the second bite of the apple. The second bite of the apple. So if what I mentioned wasn't enough, how would you like to sell your company twice? How would you like to sell it? Let's do the example that I just gave you. The company was sold at $25 million. Now it's worth $100 million. How would you like to sell it again when it's worth $100 million? That's a reality with an ESOP if you do any type of owner financing. So if you do a portion of bank financing and a portion of owner financing, you get warrants in exchange. Once that loan is paid back, you can cash that in as soon as that, or you can hold it and let the company grow more. So let's take that company as an example again, because the government will only allow you 49.9% or more, or less back in shares. They don't want you to gain control of your company again. The average you get back is 30 to 35%. And there's two buckets with the second bite of the apple. The first bucket is for the shareholders. The second bucket is for those key employees that helped you build your business, those key leaders. This is an unqualified plan. So you have the two buckets, and let's just use the 30%. So you have 20% in your bucket, 10% in your management team's bucket. And you grew by 75 million, so you're up to 100 million. You now are reselling your company again and you're getting $20 million. Now, and what are you still doing? You could still be working for your company and making your income and continuing to make it grow. Now, let's say you have 5 managers that really helped you grow your company. They helped you grow it to that 100 million, and they have 10%. So what are you handing them a check for? $2 million apiece? 3 to 5 years after you create the ESOP, you've just made millionaires out of those leaders for helping you grow the company. It's like a golden set of handcuffs. And you tell them that in advance of setting up the ESOP, so that incentivizes them to help you grow your business. And it gets even better than that. You can do this, you can hand them that check tax-free. There's a way to do that. And we can explain that in a more in-depth conversation. But as business owners wanting to reward your employees, so many times you have wanted to do that, and then all of a sudden they're going to have to pay tax, so you try to up the money, and then it just never ends with the taxable event. With an ESOP, you can give them that incentive, and it's non-taxable. So, now, capital gains. That's a hot topic, right? Especially today, it's a very hot topic. You can defer capital gains indefinitely through an ESOP. And how you do that is, there's an investment portfolio you use. You can defer it for a lifetime. It only takes 10 to 15% of the total purchase price of the company to invest, and the entire purchase price is deferred if you leave it in there indefinitely. When your heirs take it out, as long as they don't change the step-up in basis ruling that's on the proposal now, your heirs won't have to pay any capital gains either. So this is my company, and it was called Helix. It is a employer-sponsored healthcare company, and we had 200 employees that literally, oh, by the way, I didn't finish the story. The third-party buyer came back and offered us fair market value in the first meeting, so it was a no-brainer to do what we did. And we all had a happy ending. But what I want to do is that's our employees. So that's about 25% of our employees, our office staff, our corporate staff. We had field staff because we had clinics that they worked at. So I don't know if you've heard the Cliff Bar story. The Cliff Bar story is that Cliff Bar, in the early 2000s, their competitors, Nestle's and Kraft, Power Bar sold to, and another one sold to Nestle's and Kraft. And Cliff Bar really didn't know if they'd be able to compete. So they decided to sell. General Mills made them an offer for $120 million. They were at the table to sign the agreement, and the husband had an epiphany that he could compete with 5 principals. And he told his wife, I don't think she was as excited as he was, but he told his wife. They walked away from $120 million and went back to their employees, who they told they were selling the company, and said, here's how we're going to compete. And they all worked together to compete, okay? And today, Cliff Bar is worth $900 million as of 2020. So they were successful. What I don't have time to show you, but I can have Steve send the video, or I'll send it out, is the video of the Cliff Bar employees, because in 2010, they turned Cliff Bar into an ESOP to thank their employees. And when you see this video, it was transformational. Some of the comments are, I'm going to Bolivia to fish for peacock bass because now I can do it. Another one, I can dream again. So, let me ask you, would you rather sell to some stranger, or would you rather sell to the people that helped you build your business There's so many benefits. I haven't found anything better out there. The benefits are just tremendous. So that is why I'm here today. That is why I am taking this course so that, and doing the Speaker Talks talk, because I want to get out there and I want to tell the world. That's why they call me the ESOP evangelist, because anybody that'll listen, I am going to tell them about these benefits because I feel they're tremendous. Thank you.
That was great. What ESOP was? Who said me? Get out. I'd never heard of it until I met Patty. I had her on my podcast. What?
I said that I still have questions for her.
Well, good. You can talk to her anytime you want. Just not now.
What was the title?
You're interrupting me. What was the title? Patty, what was the title? ESOP Evangelist?
No, the title was Sell Your Business Twice, because once is not enough.
There you go. Sell your business twice because once is not enough. What a concept. I mean, how does that even happen? And the employees are the benefits. I lose my mind. I mean, when I went, not possible. Wow, I want to join Publix just so I can get that kind of money, right? So phenomenal. I'm going to ask you a couple questions while I get mic'd up. Here's put a few things for you. As you're going to be a speaker, 5 things that you need to have, do, be, or become. You need to have your sizzle reel, which is why some of you are here. You have to have a video that showcases your talents, your topic, that kind of stuff. Okay? You have to have an optimized website, not just a website that says I'm a speaker. If you go to most speakers' websites, it says, hey, I'm a speaker. Hire me, fire me, let me know, talk to me, right? Everybody's got the same stuff. It has to be something different. And you have to optimize your speaking on LinkedIn. That's why I say post that you're a SpeakerTalks speaker, because suddenly they're going to go, what is that? And if somewhere down in that little description, you can write, hey, I've been on stage at SpeakerTalks where I learned the trade of speaking, right? How not to be boring. Okay, then you also need 1 to 3 signature topics. 1 to 3 signature topics so that you can get on any stage and talk about what you're fired up about, right, on any of those topics. So here's your main topic, and here's all the tributaries that come off of that. 1 to 3 at least, okay? You have to be seen as the expert. You have to have the expert status. That's why you're not seeing me standing up here going, hey, welcome. Because if you watch, most of the time when people are speakers, professionals, we don't shake hands with the person introducing us. They're usually someplace else. We get introduced, and the speaker reel starts when I start to speak. Right? That makes you an expert. Now, you can use the introduction, please welcome, right? This is what they're doing, but you are the expert, so you have to be seen as the expert. You have to know storytelling. You have to know how to relate it to your audience. You have to know how to engage the audience, right? It's one of those deals where she talks about how to engage, how to sell your business. How many of you would love to sell your business? How many people would love to have a business worth $120 million, right? And then you'd like to sell it twice. I'll settle for once. I'll settle for half a once. How about you? $60 million. When the lottery was just on, they were just on lottery. Now it's 20 million. Somebody won the lottery, right? The big Powerball. Now it's worth 20 million, and the other one's worth 43 million. I looked at Kristen and I said, there's no sense us even buying a ticket. What are you going to do with $20 million? Wait till it's 100 million. Now we're talking money, right? 20 million. Athletes make $20 million for stealing second base. Look at how much they waste their money. It's gone, just like that. They have to have 20 million again next year. So it can't last very long. I figure the more money you have, the easier and faster it must go. Or those people would say, hey, I made $43 million this year. You don't have to pay me the rest of my life. Right? How many people do something here for fun? You have a hobby where you do something for fun? How would you like somebody to say, I'm going to pay you $43 million to play that game or that sport or whatever that is? Right? I don't care if you're putting together puzzles. If I said, I'll pay you $43 million to put together puzzles the rest of your life, what would you say? Yeah, count me in. Would you say, only if you pay me again next year? I don't think so. Right? Take the $43 million, have a good time with the rest of your life. These athletes who get $43 million a year. I'm a pitcher. I want to pitch for 5 innings, and then they're going to take me out because I don't want to hurt my arm. Poor guys. 23-year-old. Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy. All right. What else? You got to have you got to belong to an organization. Belong to an organization that will support you. So, like for instance, I belong to the Meeting Planners International. That's one of the reasons I'm speaking out in Vegas the end of this month. Meeting Planners International gave me an opportunity, a leg in type thing, right? So that's what you have to think about. What organization can I belong to that will help me? Okay. Then you have to do vlogging and blogging on a fairly regular basis. Get your face out there. Do a lot of, like 3 times. Do Facebook Lives, LinkedIn Lives if you have access to it, right? Put it on, I use StreamYard because it'll put it on 3 different Facebook pages at the same time, right? You want to do 3 of those, right? So put out 1, and it's broadcast to 3 different venues on my Facebook page. Why? Because those people may not belong to this page of mine. Some people may not belong to this page. And you want to be seen. And they have to be good Facebook Lives. Again, we talked about that. You want to know how to do a good Facebook Live, get with me after the event. All right? And topics, 3 to 2, that was my 2 to 3 minute videos, LinkedIn Lives. And you want to do it for free and give real good information. Hey, today I'm giving 3 tips on how to be a better speaker. Hey, today I'm giving 3 tips on how to be a better network marketer. Hey, today I'm giving 5 tips on how to. Right? Make sure you give them so they have a reason to watch. And when you introduce it, make sure you say, today I'm talking about, and then say what you're talking about. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Okay. So we move on. Up next, we have a certified corporate speaker whose topic is money. What, money? Who wants to know about money? With a bachelor's degree in economics, 14 years in education, he's a teacher who loves to share how he increased his income. He will be giving a speech titled Gratitude Rocks, which is a piece of a keynote speech called The 3 Incomes. Please give a warm welcome to Tony Bradshaw.
Woo! Thank you. Oh, it's awesome to be here. This is my gratitude rock. Every time I touch it, I think of something I'm thankful for. I'm glad I'm alive. One day when I was 13 or 14, we were done feeding the cows. I remember my cousin Leslie was with us, and the truck was empty. 3 boys in an empty truck. What could go wrong? We started horsing around. My cousin Leslie and I were standing in the bed of the truck, and my brother was driving. I was convinced my brother was going to go that way to make it tough for Leslie. He went the other way. The top of a truck is very smooth. I remember flipping to the side, and my cousin is facing me now, and he's got this look on his face. And I have this look on my face. The edge of the truck caught my legs, and I started flying. Cue the flying music. Dun, 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 dun. I'm seeing the sky. Dun, 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 dun. I'm seeing the ground. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, dun, dun. I see my cousin. Dun, 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 dun. I landed on my neck and blacked out. They say I bounced. Apparently, cow poop makes the ground springy. The first thing I remember was my brother running over to me, pushing on my chest. Tony, who's your math teacher? I'm pretty sure math is not important right now. But for some reason, my brother's asking me who my math teacher is. My brain's still trying to figure out if I have fingers and toes still attached. The toes and the knees are very important to me because they're part of my name. Tony. Ah, yes. Whole nother talk on that. Anyway, back to the point at hand. So, who's my math teacher? He asked me again, who's your math teacher? I'm thinking, Mr. Lyman has nothing to do with this. You can't blame it on him. I ask him, why? Never mind that, just tell me, who's your math teacher? Mr. Lyman. And I can't even see yet. My eyes aren't opening. And my brother says, he's okay. That is his analysis as a teenager of that I was fine. Besides getting a bit of cow poo and what I used to have as hair on my head, I was fine. And I am grateful. This gratitude rock I carry with me, and whenever I touch it, I think of what I'm grateful for. Because I want each of you to have a gratitude rock, and because I forgot them, I took a walk at lunchtime. And I picked up some rocks. It's called rock hounding. They are set out on a table. And for the end question of what the title of my speech is, it is Gratitude Rocks. Now, what does this have to do with money? I speak about the three incomes. The three types of income are labor income, passive income, and gift income. Labor income, you work today and you get paid right away. Passive income, you work today, you work tomorrow, you work next week, you work the whole month, you work the next month, you finish the season, you work the next season, the following season, you're into the fourth season, and you get paid at harvest. Gift income, someone else worked yesterday. We like gift income. I am in education, as it was said, 14 years, probably 15 now, getting up there, and I knew as an educator that my labor income was set. It gets a big process of negotiation, federal laws, state laws, how my local district decides to do it. It's set. So as I go to figure out how to increase, because I'd hit rock bottom on a teacher's salary. With 4 young children, 6 mouths to feed, and a teacher's income, I thought I was in poverty. I was really convinced I was in poverty. Then I looked up the numbers, and I was just a hair above poverty, middle class. But still, our life was at a spot where I was having trouble with finances, and I have a degree in economics. I teach this, and I had a struggle. So I started to learn about how to fix it. Lots of advice on how to reduce your spending. Spend less on entertainment, eating out, and on your own children. How do you spend less than zero? So I finally hit this rock bottom spot where I decided I got to increase my income. Well, how do I increase this labor income? Most of the advice was negotiate your salary, ask for a raise. Okay. Imagine the conversation. I go into the principal. Hi, happy Monday morning. I'd like a raise. I'm imagining he'd say, go back to work. You've already got your contract. It's set. Instead, I come to him with this question, a very powerful question. Hi, happy Monday morning. What more can I do to make more money? I don't know, he says, but if I think of something, I'll get back to you. 2 days later, he comes into my room. He's got a piece of paper. Hey, Tony, this is a stipend. And my brain's thinking, what's a stipend? He says, you did some work, extra work outside the classroom, and for doing that extra work, if you'll sign here, you'll get $600. Okay, sign me up. $600. This question is a powerful question. It could pay for your ticket here. What more can I do to make more money? Ask anyone in your life. Ask your spouse. Ask yourself before you go to sleep at night. What more can I do to make more money? Moving from labor income to passive income. Passive income comes from investments that you've made, such as in real estate and writing books. I have here a book. It is not mine, so I'm not selling from the stage. This book is called What I Know About Being a Dad. Some of the comments on the back are really interesting, like I'm changing nothing about being a dad. Okay. This book, you might not notice, I'll try and hold it so you can see. Completely empty. It's a gag book. Hilarious, too. What I know about being they have a whole series. What I know about being a public speaker. What I know about being a teacher. What is this? Someone had an idea, and they got to work. They got the cover art. They got people to say, this book gives you a clear plan. As usual, my wife had to explain it, right? This book becomes something. And then people like me will buy it because it is actually valuable. I haven't written anything yet, but I can write in here like a journal what I know about being a dad. I'm going to gift this to one of you who I feel is paying great attention. You can tell I'm a teacher when I do that. Gift income. Someone else worked yesterday. As I hear stories and things come into my life about how people are making more money, I've got a coworker who had a bunch of money come to him from his dad as an inheritance. He takes that money, he buys a house, he fixes it up, he rents it out. I hear gift income came to him, then he's now doing passive income by investing in real estate and having money flow to him. I hear stories of a coworker who works, you know the joke, right? How does a teacher's car get more aerodynamic? You remove the pizza delivery sign. Yeah, there is labor income. They're going to put in more time at a second job, a third job, in order to make more money. That's all labor income. So I'm driving one day, and I hear on the radio a story that I put into gift income. And here's the story as an example for you. A lady was a waitress at a restaurant, and there was a guy who came in every single day and sat at the same table. And he was a grumpy old guy. And she would get grumpy after serving this guy every day. Until one day she realized, I don't have to let him ruin my day. It was probably when she learned that he was a World War II veteran and realized, okay, I live in the land of the free because of the brave. I'm going to serve him with a smile. And from that day on, his grumpy attitude that never changed didn't affect her, and she could serve him with a smile. Until the day he no longer came in. She noticed in the obituaries that he had passed away. Not long later, an official envelope showed up at the restaurant with her name on it. She opens it up to find that he had left in his will $50,000 to the waitress serving him with a smile. And a car. That was the part that really stuck me in the brain. And a car. As a teacher, I work with hundreds of students. There are days where they make me want to be that grumpy, grouchy guy. And then I think to myself, I never know which one of these guys is going to become a billionaire, so I better be a great teacher today, do everything I said that I'm going to do, and help them to learn what they need to learn. The 3 incomes and how to increase each is the thing that wiggles and wriggles inside of me. And I just want to share with as many people as possible. But the thing that will really change you today, the thing that's going to bring about the biggest difference in your life, if you are feeling like you are at rock bottom, especially as a dad, the thing that's going to change you the most is a gratitude rock. This is not my first gratitude rock. I lost that one. Happens. My first gratitude rock I got when we went camping. My daughter was about 5, and my son was 2.5, 3, and the baby was a baby, eating dirt. So I took the other 2 kids, Mom was stressing over baby, I took the other 2 kids on a walk, and we came across some rocks. And all of a sudden, my daughter is telling her brother, bring me all the rocks. She's only 5, and she's already hiring employees. I'm like, what is this? And she says, look, Dad, we're rich. do you mean? These rocks had a vein of kind of a gold in it. It was a kind of a crystal with a vein of gold, and she thought they had gold. And I carried one of those rocks for a long time until I lost it. So your guiding principle for picking a rock, you don't. It picks you. Now, I went rock hounding earlier, and I've left some rocks out on that table, and there might be one that's picking you. This particular rock is one that was out in the sun earlier this spring, and it connected with me. I picked it up. It was very warm. It was out in the sun. I had a whole bunch of rocks I was going to bring for you guys, and I completely forgot them. So this little walk I just took, which also blessed me with a bunch of shells that were right along the coast right here by this body of water. The rocks I brought, there might be one that connects with you. And for the rest of your life, until you lose it, you'll have that gratitude rock. And when you lose it, it's simple. There are more rocks around. I was so stressed that I forgot the rocks for you guys. And they were like, wait a second, I'll just take a walk. There's a beautiful sidewalk that's out there. I just walked around. I was picking up rocks. Right? And your life could be forever changed, not just because you know this great question of what more can I do to make more money, but because you're going to have an attitude, adjustment, shift. This is in my pocket. I reach in and grab the pen to write something on my notebook, which, by the way, is in the black because I'm in the black, not just because Johnny Cash wears black, but because the black is where I am when it comes to the budget now. I have figured out how to increase the 3 incomes, and I hope you do as well. I am Tony Bradshaw with the Tony Bradshaw YouTube channel. Thank you. Yesterday, someone was running out of here really fast to pick up his daughter. What better gifts could I give than this to Anjan? Let's hear it for Anjan. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Tony. Woo. You know, one of the things I love about Speaker Talks is we get so many different topics. We don't decide that you're going to speak on this. We don't decide you're going to speak on that. We let you speak on the topic that excites you. That's what's important about Speaker Talks. We're going to, we got one more speaker, and then we're going to take basically a 7-minute break. We'll see how it goes. But I just want you to get out, go to the bathroom, grab your cup of coffee or your donut, and then come right back in, okay? Because we've got 3 speakers left, and then we'll have the presentation for who got the best score out of all those speakers. What? Here's my New Jersey guy. What? What are we taking now? After the speech. Were you not listening to me? I hate it when people don't listen to me. Yeah, what? After the next speaker, after John speaks, we will be taking about a 7-minute break, which should be enough for a potty break, okay? And Tony probably will be scooting out, so say goodbye to Tony because he has a plane to catch. He lives in where? Idaho.
Yeah, we're bringing Rocky Mountain rocks, you guys.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Tony. Yep. How cool, right? How cool is that?
Go for it. Did you know that?
We all have passions. Everybody, every one of us has a passion. And that's all I want you to do is I want you to start thinking about what passion could you speak on the next time we have Speaker Talks. Okay, that's what's going to be vital. What can you share with people that might change someone else's life? I tell the story real quick that one of the things that changed my life was I've been speaking about 5 years. And I tell the story, you probably heard part of it yesterday, which is somebody hired me and I was doing hour-long motivational speeches for a hospital group, okay? And I would just go from one company to another company to give these talks. And I went to this manufacturing company once, and what happened was I walked up, and it's a little teeny manufacturing company. I'll even tell you the name of it because they're still in business today, and this is 40 years ago. And it was called Beeline Manufacturing. And I drove up, knocked, went in the door, knocked for the lady to come to the front. She came and she said, "Oh yeah, you're that speaker guy." Yep. And she said, "I'll get the manager." The manager came out. He said, "Come with me." I followed him back. There were 12 people sitting on like press punch machines. I don't know what they even did, but they're, you know how the 12 greasy guys sitting on machines? Here they were, packed into 12 machines, all clunking away, and this guy flags them down and says, you gotta be quiet, you gotta be quiet, right? And then he goes, this is the guy I told you about, he's gonna talk to you for about an hour. And he starts to walk away. I went, wait a minute. Are we going to a room? He says, nope, you're gonna do it right here. Oh, I said, well, you're gonna bring your staff back? He goes, no, they don't need your stuff. Oh, good. Nice to know that none of those people, including you, don't need to have any motivation, just these 12 guys. So guess what? I'd been paid. What do you do? Like Paul said, what do you do when you've been paid? You do your job, right? My job was to give that motivational talk. So I gave an hour-long motivational talk about achieving your goals, your dreams, all that great message. And then I left. Thank the guys. As soon as I turn my back, the machines all start back up, and they go back to work. 5 years later, I'm working in my own company, and somebody walks up to me, and he says, hey, is your name Steve Sapato? I went, yes, it is. He said, I wanted to shake your hand. I went, okay. He said, you changed my life. I'm like, okay. He said, 5 years ago, you showed up at a place called Beeline. I went, yes, I did. He went, I was one of those guys on that machine. I went, oh, wow. He goes, and what you said there rang so true to me. I was working a job. I wasn't living my dream. I wasn't going after what I always wanted to be, and I'd always wanted to be a firefighter. And today, I was hired as a firefighter for the city of Moline, Illinois. He said, I just wanted to say thank you for changing my life. I shook his hand. Tears came to my eyes. When you change people's lives, your life changes. So I hope you're all here to change people's lives, because that's what it's all about. And I will tell you this, we have the next person coming up. John Browning has been involved in financial markets for the past 3 decades. At one point in time, managing over $157 billion for one of the largest firms on Wall Street. At one point, about a year after September 11th, as he stood alone in his hotel room, looking down on the remains of the Twin Towers, he made the decision to concentrate more on building his life and not just his career and personal portfolio. Since then, he has started his own firm, Guardian Rock Wealth, published an Amazon bestseller, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio, and he has decided to dedicate his career to helping people from all walks of life build their best lives as they define it. Please welcome John Browning.
Woo! Hello, everybody. I just want to warn you that we're going to do a lot of hard work for the next 15 minutes, okay? But we're going to celebrate with stale bread and water. Who's with me? Who's with me? Hey, we got a few people who want to go for stale bread and water. I like that. I like it. Well, if you're like most people, that's not what you're really into. You want to do something for a reason that is something maybe a little better than stale bread and water. Am I right? So let me ask you a question. How many people used a map to get here today? Anybody? Or at least a map app, right? Some of you knew where you're going, so you didn't need one. How many people in here, and this might give away your age, have ever used one of those old-fashioned, really big maps? A couple of you. If you don't know what those are, you're a little younger than I am, and just Google it, okay? But those things were huge. They were like the entire side of your whole windshield, right? What's one thing you don't do right now? You do not text and drive, right? You know what we didn't do? Read a big map and try and drive, okay? Now, why do we use a map? Anybody tell me? To find our way. What are the 2 most important things you need to know before you use a map? Where you are to where you're going. Where are you now? Where are you going? Now, if we use a map to get from where we are to where we're going for one point in time, maybe a day, then how is it that for a much bigger thing, our life, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, 75% of Americans don't even know where they're going, much less do they not have a map? Is that a little odd to you? Does that seem strange? But that's a well-known statistic. So what I want to talk about today is the idea of building your best life. And we'll get to the whole money thing because that's what I do. But I want you to understand that that's just a tool. See, money's just a tool from which you build your best life. And really what it comes down to is your mindset. And there's a lot of different mindsets out there. And I think it's important that we understand where those mindsets come from. Has anybody ever been taught something really strange that kind of carried through to adulthood? You know, it's interesting. Mine was bread bags. Yeah, you know, you go to the store, grocery store, you get the bread, you take the bread out, you use the bread, and then you throw the bread bag away, right? Not in our house when I was growing up. Cardinal sin. You took the bread bag, you rinsed it out, you washed it out, and you hung it up. Stale bread and water type of mindset. There's never going to be another bread bag. There's never going to be another bag. We don't want to have to buy the bags. That was my mom's mindset. Well, where did that come from? You have to understand that our mindsets start way back here in the past. They run right up into and smash into our present, and rarely do they go and start looking forward, which is why we tend not to plan our best life, right? So where did her mindset come from? Well, her mother, my grandmother, grew up during the Great Recession. Now you start to understand where that mindset came from. Now, when my fiancée, my wife now, met my grandmother for the first time, it was almost my grandmother's birthday, and she looked at her dish towels, and her dish towels were the see-through kind. Now, I'm not talking they were made see-through. I mean, that's how long she had used them. You could see right through them. And I'm not kidding. This was real. And my wife said, well, we've got to do, you told me your grandmother wouldn't appreciate cards or flour for her birthday, so why don't I get her new dish towels? And I'm like, great idea. So we went out and we got some new dish towels for my grandmother. I will never forget giving her those dish towels. She opened the package. Her eyes got wide. I'll never forget, she put them up to her face. She felt them. And she said, this is wonderful. We got big hugs. We felt awesome about that gift. Several years later, when my grandmother passed away, we found those dish towels, just as new as the day that we had bought them. Because in her mindset, her old ones weren't quite done yet. She never had the experience of using the things that she loved so much because of that stale bread and water mindset. Do any of you know some form of that stale bread and water mindset? Maybe you're 20 years old. How many people have been 20? Everybody should be raising their hands. I think maybe there's one young enough. Some really old-looking 19-year-olds. So when you're 20, what's your mindset? I'm gonna live forever. Baby, remember my name, right? 1991, by the way, is when that one was. Those of you who can remember back that far. Then you get to be 30 and you're going, I'm gonna live forever. Then you get to be 40 and you're, then 50 and you're going, maybe I don't want to keep working this hard, this long at exactly what I'm doing for the rest of my life. You know, you got that mindset. So that mindset when you're 20, and it's kind of, believe it or not, that's a stale bread and water mindset too, because you're not planning for your best life. Now let's talk about how do you build that best life and some of the mindsets around that. So remember I told you that money, it's just a tool. When I ask people, what do you want for your best life? They say, I want $1 million. I want $5 million. 10 million, whatever the number is that they pick. They don't know why they pick it. 9 times out of 10, they have no idea why they picked that number. And then I explained to them that money is just a tool to think about how you build your best life. Now, if you put a football into my hands, it's worth about 20, 25 bucks. You put it into Drew Brees' hand, it's worth like $38-40 million. You put a basketball in my hand, it's worth about 15, 20 bucks. Scottie Pippen's hands, millions of dollars. And yet we have, a lot of us, not necessarily you, but a lot of us have this mentality that we can take this tool and use it and build our best life. Although we haven't planned for it, we don't really know what it is. But say we did. How do you know how to build your best life with that tool? You give me a hammer, I might be able to build you a birdhouse. So my challenge for you today is to find a master craftsman and think about what your best life really is, what that means for you, because my best life is not what your best life is. We are all very different. I encourage you to find a master craftsman. Who here has ever seen some of those YouTube videos, Pinterest, where they have a master painter? And he starts out with a blank canvas or a tree or a wall, and then suddenly over an amount of time, it becomes this beautiful picture. It's amazing, isn't it? Has anybody ever seen that? Yeah. You think I could do that? Hey, you wouldn't be able to tell what I was thinking about. So you have those folks that believe that they can take that tool and build it themselves, right? And there's some really smart people here. There's probably some doctors, some lawyers, some dentists, some teachers. You're really smart at what you do. You've got a lot of experience in what you do. And what happens is they're like, well, I can figure this out. I mean, I've got YouTube, I've got CNBC, I've got all this information on the internet, and we all know that everything on the internet and everything on YouTube is correct, right? Absolutely. Okay, maybe not. But the other thing is you're getting all this information from all different parts, and then you're trying to do your regular job, the job that you're really good at and you're really smart at doing, and you end up in that spot that I call the dazed and confused spot. You know that movie? Has anybody heard of that Dazed and Confused movie? 1993, Matthew McConaughey. Great movie, look it up. It's just fun to watch. But every single character in that book or in that movie was truly dazed and confused. And you know what they all had in common besides that is none of them knew that they were dazed and confused. They did a survey recently about Bitcoin, and they realized that 80% of the people who owned Bitcoin in this survey had no idea what it was. Over 50% of them thought they could take physical delivery of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not physical, in case you weren't aware of that. So you have that mindset that I can just do this on my own. You have the other type of mindset where this is way too complicated. I'm going to make this super simple. And I'm going to buy the S&P 500 every single month for the rest of my life, and everything's going to look okay. Well, here is kind of the issue with that, right? Because may I tell you one more story? One more story? So how many of you have made a wrong turn when you were using the map? Anybody ever done that? Made a wrong turn? I did that. Traveling from Colorado to Illinois, driving my Chevy Suburban. I love those things. They just roll down the road. Those are great. Here's the greatest thing, though. My 6 kids in the back were all sleeping. How many parents we got in the room? How many parents? Got a few? What does that mean? Peace and quiet. And what do you not do? You do not pull over and check the map under any circumstances. And I felt pretty confident. I had mapped out my route. You know, I was doing okay. I was like, my wife's asleep too. This is great. Right up until I saw that sign for Wyoming. For those of you who are geographically challenged, Wyoming is not on the way from Colorado to Illinois. Okay? Made a wrong turn. I lost 3 hours of my life. And my wife still wonders how come our trip took 3 hours longer. She's a very sound sleeper. So here's the deal, though. I lost 3 hours of my life. I was aggravated. I was frustrated. How many more hours, how many more years might you lose if you actually have a map and you don't check the map? If you make a wrong turn on your path to building your best life because you took the simplistic idea and thought that that was right for everyone. Remember, everyone doesn't have the same best life. They may need a different plan. So remember when I talked about that master craftsman? This is my hope for you. I've been doing this for 30 years, okay? This is kind of all I do, is manage money and things like that. All that boring stuff that I find fascinating. I'm kind of a nerd that way. But what I'm going to ask you to do is, number one, know where you're going. Plan your best life. Know what it is. And spend that time with a master craftsman. If you had a master craftsman, what kind of life would you commission that master craftsman to make for you? I'm not talking about your mother, your brother, your sister, your nephew, your best friend. I'm talking about somebody who has been in the trenches, understands what it means to manage money, to work with that tool called money, and commission them to create your best life. Can you do that with me? Can you do that for me? That's great. My name is John Browning. I hope you got something out of this talk today. And I'm around after this and would be happy to talk to any of you. Thank you.
Okay. What was the title of your talk? Build your life, not a portfolio. Okay. I'm going to relate to that on a couple of levels because I want you to understand. I love to tell the truth. I love exposing BS for BS. When you find somebody like John who can help you expand your portfolio, right? Who can help you, who has a genuine interest in you. My second wife, after we divorced, obviously, married a stockbroker, doing real well. He actually moved up in the Merrill Lynch area, and he became manager of the Merrill Lynch branch back where I used to live. They were constantly taking cruises, like 1 or 2 cruises a year, right? 1 or 2 cruises a year. And I went, wow, how do you do that? So I went to pick up my daughter one night, and I said, how do you guys keep taking these cruises, man? John must be doing really well. And she said, well, actually, he wins them. I said, how do you win a cruise? So she said, go ask John. So I went and talked to this guy. And I said, so how do you win a cruise? He said, well, we sell stocks. I went, of course. This stock company says in order to sell more stocks, we're going to offer incentives. So if you sell this much stock, you get a snow globe. If you sell this much stock, you get a cruise. If you sell this much stock, you get a trip to Europe. I was like, wow. He said, so I always sell enough to get that cruise. I said, is it always the same stock? He goes, oh, no, different stock companies do different things. And I said, well, what if the stock isn't any good? He said, I don't care. I want to win a cruise. Now, this is the manager of a major stock firm. Is he the only one that does that? Of course not. If you know your friends and they're going on cruises and they happen to be in the stock market, ask them that question. Say, hey, how do you get those cruises? And if they say we win them, guess what they're doing? So it's not unusual, just like every other profession, to find people who are not necessarily your friend and you're trusting them with your wealth. Oh, it makes me nuts. That's why I find people like John and I'm like, there's a guy who's dedicated to helping you. Right? That's it, dedicated to helping you. How many people would love to invest your money so that you get help? None of you? Yeah, a couple. Now let me ask you a question. And I broached this with John. Because I talk to people on airplanes about this. I don't know anything about money. You understand that, right? Now let me ask you the question. What's the rule of 72 when it comes to money? John, you can't answer. What's the rule of 72? How many years it takes to double your income in a certain industry? Kinda. Anybody else? See, no one knows. How can that be? Okay, I learned this at 55. I said, this is why the rich keep getting richer and we don't. If you take your money and you divide it, at whatever interest rate you're getting it. So let's go to your, anybody here have a bunch of money in their savings account? You don't have to tell me, but yeah, a bunch of money in your savings account. You say, that's where we're supposed to put it. So you got a bunch of money in your savings account, which gets what? Less than 1%. Who knows for sure? Less than 1%? Less than 1% right now. So 1%, let's go to 1%. You take that interest rate and you divide it into 72, that's how long it takes your money to double. So if I put $1,000 into my savings account today, 72 years from now, it'll be $2,000. Woo! If you have grandchildren and they're at age 10, and you put $1,000 away for 10 years at 8% interest. Now you got to go look, you got to find somebody like John who can find you investments that will get you 8% interest. I can show you interest rates or places to get 18% interest. People think I'm nuts, but you got to also do a lot of work to get it. But let's say it's 8% interest. You put $1,000 away for 10 years, age 10 to age 20 for your grandchildren. Just $1,000. How much is that a month? $100. $100, right? $100 a month is $1,200 a year. You okay with me on that? And you put it into a trust for your grandchildren so they can't touch it till they're 65 or 70 years old. Okay? Don't tell them about it, just have it pop out so it'll be delivered to them when they turn 65 or 70. At 70 years old, your grandchildren will have $1.2 million in the bank. You invested $10,000 over a 10-year period at 8%. 50 years later, 52 or something, they'll have $1.2 million in the bank. Would you like to give that gift to your grandchildren? How many people say yes? Sure. And yet, you know how few of us do it? $100 a month. I tell you that because I want you to understand that most of us don't know anything about money, and we need an expert to help us with that money. That's the way we should work. And if you don't, how many people have more than $100,000 already set aside in their own savings account or their own investment account? Not the companies. A couple of you. Okay? Most of us don't raise our hand. The average 50-year-old in America today has less than $50,000 in any kind of savings or investment account. That's scary all by itself. That's why you get with Paul, so you can make $1 million over the next 10 years. Okay, that's what it's all about. By the way, we're going to be going to Paul's event, my wife and I. Okay, so what time is it now? I'm showing 2:37. Is that what you guys are showing? All right. At 2:45, I want you back in here because